Hi, I'm Pastor Blaise Sedney from St. Matthew Lutheran Church, and we're having this session this evening called Listening to Understand. And we have 6 folks who've been very gracious to talk to us and tell us about their stories and about life growing up and life today as being a person who is Black or being with those who are Black. And so I hope you'll appreciate this discussion and you'll learn a lot. I have learned so much over the past couple of months talking to people, and I really want that understanding to permeate so many more. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, and Julie will be going through those questions and handing them to us once we get through the 6 talkers and ask those questions. So I hope you enjoy this evening and get a lot out of it. We're going to start with Lonnie. And so Lonnie's going to go first, and then we'll move on from there. So you're going to give him the ability to start speaking?
You should speak.
Okay, Lonnie, you're live.
All right. Thank you. And thank you, Reverend, for hosting this conference here. I call it a conference. I was born in 1946, so I guess I get given away my age there. Northampton County, North Carolina. When you're born in the South, you always give the county instead of the town, because nobody never heard tell of the count up the town. So it's just the county. I'm one of 12 children for Lonnie and Harriet Vick. I grew up on a farm, way out in the country. My nearest next door neighbor was like a mile away. Did farm work, feeding the animals, working in the fields and all that stuff. Graduated from high school, earned a certificate from Wilson County Technical Institute. Moved to Newport News in about 1969. I was there for about a year, a little over a year. And then a representative from Bethlehem Steel Shipyard from down Sparrows Point came down there, and he hired about 15 of us to bring up to Baltimore. That was in 1970. And I worked at Bethlehem Steel Shipyard until they shut down. I worked there full-time as a welder. I was a union rep full-time for about 12 to 15 years there, and on and off part-time for most of my career there. I retired from both of them in 2014. And so to keep myself kind of busy and mentally focused, I do volunteer work for the community, like the Homeowners Association. Me and my wife, once up until last year, we were doing Meals on Wheels. And at present, I'm the president of the chapter of the State Council of the Machinists Union. That's the political arm of our union here in the state of Maryland. And we are non-partisan. It doesn't mean that we don't make recommendations. It doesn't mean that we don't have a choice of candidates that we help fund. But we are non-partisan. So that's me in a nutshell. I have 3 sons and 4 grandchildren. Thank you.
So Lonnie, do you want to speak at all about being in this area and being Black, and maybe any of the things that have affected your life as being a person who is Black in this county?
Well, when I first moved to Maryland, I lived up until 2005 in Baltimore City. I lived on North Washington Street for a number of years. I lived on Castle Street for a number of years. And then I moved out to Sheffield Road for a number of years. That's out there in the Northwood section of Baltimore City. And I can honestly say that I had really probably one unnerving encounter with the police. I was in front of my house, and around the curve come several police cars. They all hopped out the car and run up to me, and I don't recall any of them grabbing me, but I had to show identification, and that was kind of unnerving. But other than that, I've tried to avoid any encounter with the police, because when you read and you be around situation, you understand what can happen to you. And because I think that my perspective of it is right. If kind of do what they ask you to do and sue later on, because that's your only winning for you. You cannot win out there in the street by yourself. There's no win for you. You're either gonna wind up in jail, your head bust open, or you're gonna wind up, at the worst case scenario, you can wind up dead. So I've always believed in trying to educate yourself. I think we need more judges, attorneys, and people of that sort in the judicial system. I was just following on the internet a little while ago. Of all the federal judges appointed by President Trump, not one is African American. And he's appointed somewhere around in the neighborhood of 200. That's the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, and the district courts. And for most of us, we will never have a case of importance that will wind up in the Supreme Court. Most of our cases, probably 99% of them, are either going to be settled at the district level or at the appeals court level. And I think that's where we need to really be focusing our attention on.
Thank you very much, Lonnie.
Drop the move.
Yeah, that would be
great. All righty.
introduce yourself.
That's all close up. Hello, everyone. My name is LaCarrie Dawson. I was born in the 80s. I'm an 80s baby. So my views can be a little different. So like in life, I would honestly say I didn't notice, there's a little background. I grew up in a middle class neighborhood, so behind Loyola College. So I had a lot of friends that didn't look like me. I grew up in that nice era around the neighborhood where I didn't think that my skin color like mattered. So we had other things going on, probably teasing each other because one's chunky, one's this way, one's that way. So honestly, growing up, I wasn't introduced like color really mattered. Like I had a girlfriend, I remember one time, she had all this long blonde hair and she wanted some finger waves in her hair. So I go and I finger wave her hair, not thinking that the products we use is totally different. Her mom called my mom and was like, oh my God, how did I get this stuff out of her hair? And, you know, they were laughing on the phone and we had to go get us some shampoo to wash it out. But, you know, I was blessed around that time, you know, to not think of race. Like we was reading the Babysitter Club books. We started our own little daycare service. So for me, it didn't start early on in life. I really had honestly a really, really good childhood. So my mom started getting the idea that she wanted me well cultured though. So we started going to different windsurfing and sailing camp and things of that sort. So that's when everything started hitting. So let's say that could have been like around 14, 15-ish. So when my mom sent me to windsurfing and sailing camp, if you can imagine, I was the only African-American girl there. So at that time, you know, my mom didn't know how to breathe. So she sent me on with some little puffballs in my head. So when we got there, it was the comments of, what are we supposed to do with her hair? What are we going to do with her? You know, it was just like surprising that I was African-American and I was there. But, you know, we went on after the time. I have a little strong personality. I made it through my 4 weeks there. So at the end, we did a closing exercise. And my mom, they would put on a play. They made me the cow in a play. So they painted me in white spots on my skin. So my mom came and my mom was furious, you know, and I'm in my mind, I don't think at that time I realized it. You know, like now when I sit back and I think about it, you know, I dare you. Like if I think of it now, I probably, I dare you. I'm not putting no paint on me, but I went along because, you know, a whole month there with other people. I hate to say it, sometimes in life, just like he was saying earlier, to like get along, you adapt. And that should be something that we shouldn't have to do. But to get along, you start to adapt and your skin starts to get a little tougher. You adapt to little comments about your skin. You adapt to little comments about your hair. You joke it off because at that age, I'm 14, 15. I have to adapt because I'm here at camp. I have to survive in that mindset. So moving forward in life, you know, I'm honestly, that didn't bother me. It didn't make me like upset or angry or anything. I have different friends from, my best friend is actually, funny enough, he's a Caucasian white guy. We met going to school. So it never affected me. But I will say that I learned in the healthcare in a way that the world views a Black woman, and that's very hard, especially a darker skinned Black woman. I think I remember my first having my daughter. I only have one child. I went into the doctor's office, and the lady had a nerve to ask me not hello, how are you? It's wonderful that you're having your first child. She said, well, what number is this? Wow. What number is this? This is my first, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. But, you know, it's just in life, just walking through in those shoes. It's like you either just grow some tough skin or you just have to have a battle all the time. But that's me in a nutshell. Nice to meet everyone. And I'm moving on. Because I don't like this close up. I'm not coming this close up. Yeah, that's too close for me.
Okay, Mr. Paul.
Hi, my name is Paul. I'm from Bel Air, Maryland. I love sports, animals, outside, you know, normal stuff. I am 24 years old, soon to be 25. I grew up, I lived in Baltimore for a short period of my life, came out here. I went to Fountain Green Elementary School in 5th grade. I had a friend, his name was Christian, complete opposite. Everybody, you know, people were kind of weird towards me when I was out there, but I didn't really care. I like sports, but like, just extra body's cool. But yeah, he was the complete opposite. He's like, you know, he's into nature and stuff, so that's why like we had like a, you know, connection. But like he's kind of like a redneck low key, but like he's cool. So that was my like only friend like growing up completely, like all the way through like high school. I had a couple of friends, but you know, you can't be hanging around people, especially when they're around for the wrong reasons. Those are like, you don't even want those type of people in your life, you know? So like I only had like one like true friend like growing up. Went off, played like football in college. That was cool. And now now I drive trucks. I've been doing that for about 2 years now. Saw the world a little bit. Now I got fat, got really fat at one point. I was 250 pounds. And then like, you know, like recently like lost like 30, 25, I don't know. But like but yeah, so now that I'm just catching up to what I'm doing now in life. That's basically where I'm at. Just trying to figure out everything in life. Like, you want to paycheck, you want to be comfortable, stuff like that.
So, Paul, what are the experiences of being a young Black man in Harford County?
It's like you gotta play like 50-50 ball when you're talking to people. You don't want to talk to nobody in the sense that you would talk to somebody if they were like, you know, to come at your home sometimes, you know? You have to be very wise with your words. You cannot be quick. You can't act off of temper. Temper, like, it excites people. So if they get you angry, you know, they'll keep going compared to, like, if you don't really, like, say something, they'll just be like, wow, like, I'm really doing some stupid thing. They'll either keep going or they'll stop. You know, I've had, like, experiences with the cops before. Like, even when I was younger, I mean, not younger, but like when I was in high school, I was with Rosie, the cops pulled me over. I'd be like dead sleep, like from like football game or something. And they'll like, you know, it'd be like 3-4 cop cars outside. It'd be like, I just a girl sleep in the car. That's when I was like younger, got older.
We were driving.
Okay.
Oh, oh my gosh. But so I was the one driving. I got pulled over. I had
Speak up. We have to hear you.
You don't hear me?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I just hijacked his story. I was driving, he was in the passenger seat. I got pulled over because I had a tail light out or something. But as soon as they asked me where I was going, I said to his house, and they were like, whose house? And I was like, his. And he saw him. It was dark out and things, and he was like, oh. And then all of a sudden there's 4 more cops in the parking lot with us, asking us way more questions than they would have asked if I was in that car all by myself, I know for sure. And I think that was the first time me, as someone who's dating a black man, was like, you know, really saw it firsthand. But you can keep going.
Like, one time I was talking on the phone with you, I'm at my house.
Speak up.
Huh?
That's good.
Closer,
You
yeah.
can hear me now? Okay. I was talking out front of my house. Everybody was sleeping in my house. I was on the phone with my dog. I was just checking my phone in front of my mom's house. Like 8 years. I was normal people stuff. My window after me. At first, I was like, rolled down the window. I was like, "Who are you?" They're like, like, fuck yeah. Why are you outside in the car on your phone? I was like, dude, that's like normal people stuff. But you know, you don't want a whole battle of can't hear me. I ain't. But I didn't want to be like making a whole big deal about it, so I just like I said, battle. You go to the high road or you go down to the low road.
Let's move turn.
All right, we'll have Mariah go.
Oh, is this just about like childhood or everything?
Well, about growing up and then today, and then
Okay.
also having the experiences that you and August have had.
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is
Introduce
exciting. Okay, hi. My name's Mariah. I am 28 years old. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Virginia in a place called Norfolk, Virginia. I lived in, honestly, a predominantly white neighborhood. At a young age, I don't think I mean, I did not notice anything. When I say young age, I'm thinking more of like the 6, 7 area. I think the first time I noticed a difference, I used to have my grandmother lived with us, and she had a caretaker, and Miss Roseanne, and she was a beautiful Black woman. She was amazing. She was awesome. And my mom would send me to her house, and I would spend the night with her and her husband and their kids in the neighborhood, in the apartment complex, and it was in a neighborhood different than mine. I remember noticing and even saying, why are there so many cop cars around? Why do they keep rolling around? Why do they keep talking to us? I think that was, for me, the first time noticing some difference. Going into middle school is probably when I noticed a huge difference. I went to a middle school originally that was predominantly Black. I was one of 11 people who were light-skinned. I'm actually Native American and African American, but I have a really nice tan going. Usually I'm much paler than this. And that school, it was run down. The books were horrible. They had no laptops. We had to go through airport security just to get in the school, always getting wanded down. Drug dogs coming once a month to check our lockers. It was just it was a sad experience. After a couple of months, probably like well into the year, I got into a little trouble, and they had decided that it was best for me to move to a different school. So I went to another middle school, and this school was a predominantly white school. And the difference was so baffling to me. They didn't have security at this school. They had laptops, everything was nice. They had all these sport activities. And I think for me, that is when things really started to make sense. I think one of the things that happened to me, or was told to me by my mother grew up in Brooklyn, Baltimore, in the 50s. She's very dark complected, and at a certain age, my mom told me of stories of her being called the N-word. And that baffled me because she's my mom. And when I'm in class and I'm learning about certain things, I think it's so far out, but it wasn't. That happened to my mom. In high school and everything, I mean, it was 50-50 of people, and I mean, we were all friends. We were all friends, but I didn't realize that we all went to different neighborhoods. And I think at a very, for me, I was privileged. I am privileged. That's how I have never walked outside of my house and worried. I've never, walked into a 7-Eleven worried. I actually had an incident, and I've told Mr. Blaze, I think, I was in a Wendy's drive-through, and my car matched the description of a break and entering. They didn't know what the suspect looked like. They just knew what the car looked like. And I was run up on with a bunch of cops with, their guns out, gun pointed to my head, and throw my hands up. And they kind of just giggled. They laughed, and kind of went away. But I know that's where, for me, privilege comes in, because for a Black man, that could have been way different. That would have been way different. Moving into Harford County. Living in Harford County is when I first experienced something. I experienced something so gut-wrenching and sad. I was with two of my friends. They were Black males, Colin and Kojo, the best two guys. They were awesome. We went to 7-Eleven. We were picking up energy drinks. We were just hanging out. They walked into the 7-Eleven off of Route 1, and a cop car was like 2 cars away from me, and they yelled out and they said, "What do you do hanging with them? You're gonna get yourself in trouble." And I looked at them, and all I could say was, "I didn't ask for your opinion." And the cop in the passenger side decided to say, "Well, you're nothing but an in-lover anyways." I was so distraught, so taken back, because that was thrown in my face. Like, it was just, and the feeling of not being able to respond, because if I responded, I felt like Colin and Kojo would have got the brunt of that, not me. I would have been getting them into something that they didn't ask for. And that was very traumatizing. I've had that happen, being called that phrase several times in Harford County. I am in love with a Black man. It's sad when I can drive in my car and when I get pulled over, I don't fear anything. I don't fear for my life. I don't. When I'm driving in my car and I get pulled over with my fiance in the car, it's a whole different feeling. It is a whole different feeling. Getting pulled over, I've been pulled over and my fiance was driving and making sure and telling him, hey, just make sure you don't make any sudden movements. We're good. We're fine. He's nervous. I'm nervous. That is pathetic. That is how we should be feeling. This is absurd that this is still something we're dealing with every day. Every day. These, with these shootings and George Floyd, a lot has been going on, but people need to realize this happens every day, every single day. To some young man, some young woman, it happens to them every day. And that is so unacceptable in my eyes. And I just don't want to have to sit down with my son or my daughter and tell them that they have to act different so they don't get shot, so they don't get pinned down. It's just, I don't know, man. I just feel like there's a lot that needs to change. And it's something that doesn't need to be muted. It needs to be talked about every day, until something starts changing. I don't know. I just wish things were, I just really wish things were different. That's all I have, I guess, for right now.
Thank you, Ms. Moran.
You're very welcome.
So we haven't heard from Jeff. Would you go next if you don't know where Jeff is? Could you go next? You had some experiences, you told me.
Yeah, but I mean, not like y'all.
You told me some experience.
I forgot what I told you.
And you have kids.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that.
Tell them
Okay.
about yourself, because you're a very interesting lady.
What you say? I was born in 1949. I don't have as many experiences as everyone else has. I guess I don't know why. But my mother was, she worked in a drugstore and she cleaned up. But they were really nice to all of us. And eventually she was a cashier. And I could say when I was in high school, I went to Eastern High and we would have projects. That was a mostly white school. We would have projects and I was always paired with this white girl. She was my friend. We had a project. She didn't do any of the work. I did all the work, but it was a portion of it that was supposed to be for me and a portion for her. But when we got graded, he failed me on my portion and passed her on her portion. So I knew something was wrong, but I mentioned that I did the whole report, but she never even admitted that she did it. Now, I'm trying to think of all my incidents because I have been spared a lot. But anyway, I remember, because I was born in Baltimore City, and we used to go down south with my uncle. And I saw how Blacks were treated there, and I could never understand what was going on because I wasn't treated that way here, not as bad as they were. I'm trying to find something to say. But okay. And I always had nice cars. And after I moved out in Harford County, I had a new car. I drove in the city. I got stopped because he wanted to see if it was my car. He didn't believe it was my car. So I just showed him my registration, everything, my license, and he let me go. And then I remember one day I was at the library, and this it was a female police lady was there, and this white guy drove out, and I hadn't been there before, and he drove the wrong way. I just went that way too, but the thing is, she just sat there, and he drove. She didn't do anything. She waited for me to drive out, and I asked her, "How come you stopped me and you didn't stop him?" But I was nice about it. She didn't give me a ticket or anything. And another time when I was at work, I worked at the post office. Didn't tell you all of this. I worked at the post office, and I had the flu. So I left early, and this policeman stopped me. Knew I'm sweating like I don't know what, told him I had the flu. I was on my way to the hospital. He had another policeman with him. So he was showing off because the policeman that was behind him was looking at me all sad and everything, really didn't want it to happen, but he couldn't say anything. So the man finally let me go. I didn't get a ticket for that either. And then I remember a time when my sister died, and she left me in charge of everything she had. And I went to the bank, and I was trying to close her account out. And the teller there didn't want me to do it because I guess I was Black and it was too much money my sister had in the account. She wanted to ask me all these questions, telling me I need to go get a notary to have it signed. And I told her I was a notary and I didn't have to do that. And she was giving me all this trouble, but I was calm. I didn't say anything. And what happened was the branch manager came out. He knew me. So he came out talking to me about my family and everything. And when she found it out, she got nice. And ever since I went there afterwards, she was nice to me. But I knew that she was only doing it because she thought I was going to tell on her, which I did not do. Okay.
How about when they were checking your house for
What?
when you were going to do?
Oh, I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, when I got this last baby, he's 3 years old now, but he was 6 months when I got him. They came to the house. They didn't want to give me the baby because he's mixed, and they wanted to keep him. He's a nice, pretty baby, and they didn't want to give him to me. So when they came to the house, when I went to the office, they said I was too old, that I may die in 10 years. So I didn't say anything. So they came to the house anyway, but what they didn't know was I already did foster care, daycare, and homeschool, and I was already registered. I just finished getting registered for Catholic Charities. They didn't know all of that. So when they came to the house and they found out all of that, because my lawyer friend told me, why didn't I tell them all of that? I said, I didn't know I had to do that. So they came to the house, and all they did was look at my house. So I guess they thought that they come to a Black person's house, it's going to look bad, but my house does not look bad. And they looked all around, and when they asked me about mortgage and stuff, and they found that it was paid for, they didn't say anything else after that. But when the workers came, when they come and check on you, when the workers came, they would talk down to me. And when they went in my library, they saw my diplomas from Morgan, from Copper and Honor Roll and all that stuff, and saw that I majored in social science. I mean, I had a good degree in social work. Then they stopped talking down to me. So I got respect because I knew what they were saying. Now they try to be buddies, but I wasn't really buddies. You know, you still have to watch what you say, but they stopped doing that. Anything else? Oh, in school, like I have my little boy, he's real dark. So ever since he was a little baby, he could hear me. I would always call him my chocolate almond bar because I knew that he was dark, and they would say something about his complexion because he's always been living in Harford County and always going to the white school. I hate to say it that way. Anyway, I called him my chocolate almond bar because I wanted him, and I always tell him how pretty he is, and he has gorgeous eyes. Y'all need to see him. He has gorgeous eyes, but I always say that to him to this day. my chocolate almond bar. You know, he keeps saying he doesn't like almonds. I said, well, my chocolate almond bar. But I do that on purpose because I know he's dark and he's going to have a lot of problems later on when he get older. But so far someone did ask him why he was so dark in school. I didn't know about that, but one of the teachers told me about that. But I asked him about it. He said it didn't bother him. He just said that everybody is different color, because I used to do all of that with him anyway. So it doesn't bother him. And when you talk, I asked my daughter one day, and she's 13, I asked her how many white people she had in her class. And she said, what do you mean? And that's when I knew I had to start talking to her. But the dark boy, he turned around and looked at me and said, Mom, she's got three black kids in her class. You see, so the difference with him and her, he knows. But he knows if anything happens, like I'm afraid for him, but you know, you still have to teach them what to do when they go out. And I want to tell you about some incidents that just happened. Okay, I was in Costco one day, and there's a black lady in a chair, in a wheelchair. And it was a white guy that didn't know she was in line because she wasn't all the way in line. So she started fussing at him because she thought he was rooting her. And I just stood there because I was going to say something, but I could see that he was getting really mad. But I think because of the rides and everything, he kind of calmed down. And when he went outside, I just told him I was glad that he didn't get upset. And he said he was glad I spoke to him because he had a temper and he didn't, and he would have went off on her, but he was afraid to go off on her. But he said that he was glad that I mentioned it. And this happened yesterday. I don't know, God is using me some kind of way. Because yesterday I was in line and at the food court at Costco, and I had Micah with me. And it was a black guy was in line at the food court in front of me. It was a white lady on the other side. But this little black boy went over there and sat in one of these chairs that you sit in when you can't move around. And she told him, as she asked him to get up, he looked like he was about 10 or 11. And what he did was he started cussing her out. And she kept walking toward him, and he was walking toward her, and it kept on going. And I just walked over there to her and said, look, you go ahead over here, I'll take care of this. I'll talk to his mother. I said, I don't know who she is, but I'll find out who his mother is. And what happened was his mother came by, and I went in and told her that her son was cussing at the lady. And she said he had autism. So all this was done in front of the lady. So when I talked to him, when I said that, I told her what he had, and she was just so happy that I had stopped it. But what I didn't understand was he was in Costco. Everybody just stood around and didn't do anything. The boy could have went off and the lady could have gone off because they were walking toward each other. Like they was getting ready to fight, an older lady, right? And nobody said a thing. But the black guy was glad I did it. I forgot Micah was with me because Micah just stood there. But it was just weird. And let me see, one more incident. But I just don't understand. I was in another store, and it was a lady. She was really old. It was a white lady, really old, and she was leaning on the carts. And I went over to her and asked her, was she all right? Anything she wanted me to do? And she said no, she needed a cart. And I was getting ready to give her a cart, but she said her husband was bringing it in. And then as I was walking around, I heard her tell her husband, oh, that lady was so nice to me, snap. And it was just weird, you know, and I just felt that, all of this that I did, I didn't know why I did it. It was just something, I didn't think to do it, I just did it. And then later on, I said, good thing I didn't get hurt. But she was talking, and I was saying, well, so there was three white people that I talked to that I felt when I got home, I had to call my girlfriend up. 3 of them that I talked to that I felt that I may have changed their opinion about black people. And the black guy that was at Costco, he turned around and said, you know, he felt the same way. But I said to myself, why didn't he say something? And see, I think that's what our problem is. We see this going on and we don't say anything. We just let it happen. So if I had let that boy keep cussing that woman out, I don't know what words would have came out of her mouth, but I could tell she was really, really afraid. So as I'm saying, I don't know. I think that because
I'm a very strong person. And because I have faced people that were being prejudiced toward me, but I kind of don't play into it. And I find that by me not playing into it, they don't know what to think. And later on, we're all right. I mean, I think we're all right because they talk to me more. And I find that sometimes they think they have to talk to me more because I'm Black. But do you understand what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But they don't really have to do that. But it's just that, I don't know. I think it's me. Now I'm into the Black Lives Matter, so you don't have to worry about that. And like some of the inventions that the Black people have invented, and my children will come home and say, Mom, I thought you said that we did that. I said, we did do that. They said, well, what do I do on the test? I said, you give them what they want so you can pass the test, but you know what you have to do. So that's how it is in my house. But I asked my daughter, I said, well, what are your friends saying about that? You have any Black friends saying? She said, well, Mom, you know most of my friends are white. I said, so what are they saying? She said, well, they think it's a shame what's going on. So we're all right. I feel all right, but we still in Black Lives Matter. So, you know, okay. Is that enough?
Yeah. Before you leave though,
What?
you didn't tell them, how many kids have you taken care of?
Oh man. I have adopted 6 children for guardianship, okay? My oldest daughter is a social worker. And that one's just work. But I have one of my nieces that I'm with, their half sister. Well, like I said, their half sister is she's a teacher at Patterson High. She's a biology teacher. But it's just that I don't know. We had a neighbor. She's from Africa. Her husband from Africa, and she's Black, and her children Black. And her little daughter, was having problems at the school that Michael goes to, Hickory. And instead of her doing what she just took the girl and put her in private school, which she shouldn't have done, because when my children go to school, I am there. They know me and they leave my children alone. So I told her, you need to show yourself at school, and your children to get along better if you show yourself at school. Volunteer at the school. Don't be one of those persons, don't go to the PTA meeting, don't volunteer and all that. I was in that school so much that when I went in there, I just walked, get my badge. I don't have to say my name or anything, because my husband went there with me one day and he said, why did you walk around? And I said, because they don't know you, but I don't know. I just been, I call it blessed. I don't know what it is. And when I came to this church, I'm almost the only one here, right? But I came, this is a really nice church. And my girlfriends kept saying, why are you going to that church? You're the only Black person there. I said, well, look, this is a Lutheran church, and I'm not going there for the race. I'm going there for Lutheran church, because I was at a Baptist church, but I'm Lutheran. So I came to the nearest Lutheran church that was near me, and it doesn't matter, but my girlfriends have been here for the book club, and they really like it here. They say it's real friendly. Okay, that's it.
So one of the questions was, and this is for the panelists, do you feel that you're treated differently in stores in Harford County?
Of course.
Pardon?
Of course.
Of course?
Yes. I mean, some people that feel that they may not. I had a couple people here say, like, you said, you feel that you're privileged. I mean, I think that sometimes, I guess that's a different view to think about it. That can go with the fact that you're a woman and you're attractive. That doesn't go with Black, if that makes sense. Your privilege can be a different type of privilege.
Right.
Yeah. So I think like with the color sometimes going into certain places, and it depends on the era of certain, like, it depends on if it's fine dining. It depends on it. Fine dining would mean like if we're going to like a establishment up here, like a Ruth Chris or something that's different, an Italian restaurant,
So
somewhere
do they
different.
treat you different or not different?
Oh, they're gonna treat you different when you come in. Now, if it's something that's like maybe a Friendlies or something different like that, like a lower establishment, you're not treated so differently, but certain places you are. And it's happened to me like Bonefish Grill. Is that Bonefish Grill? No, the Steel Grill. Steel Fish, there we go. We went in there before, and like if I go in there by myself, it's like a different, no one, I can sit at the bar for a minute, no one can come over and bring you a menu, something like that. Now, if I go over with like Will and maybe his wife or something, so it's, hey, how are you doing today? Would you like to have a seat? You know, it depends on who you're with and sometimes the restaurants that you go to, but you do get treated differently.
Can I piggyback that real quick? So she's 100%, and I'm gonna base that off of being a server in the restaurant and seeing it. So for me, and I hate saying that, like putting it this way, but it's just how it is. For me, my skin is light enough where white people feel comfortable to say things around me that are not, I don't appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard servers, you know, when a black family comes in, they have done nothing but walk in the door. They have done nothing but walk in the door. Oh, I don't want them. I don't want them. They're not going to tip me. It happens. We hear it all the time. It got so bad that we had to have a actual meeting about it. It was just so unbearable for people. Like everyone was just so upset with people, with each other. When I hear, oh, I don't want to serve them, they're ghetto, makes me so angry. It makes me so angry. Well, you know what? I'll take them because first of all, you don't know them. You haven't and I'll tell you, just it's sad. It's sad how some people work and how their minds are when it comes. So I've seen it.
And for an older person, it could be different. Now, my mom goes, you gotta think about sometimes once we take color out, then we take we have the ages there. Now, regardless of your color, someone should respect her. So that's why you may stop. It's like she was saying about Costco. What ignorant person would go against when she says stop? Yes, ma'am, I'm stopping. And that's the way it should be. And I think that, we need to all start thinking like that. Start to respect our elders, respect each other. When she says stop, I'm stopping. Even if you made me mad, even if you said something to me, I'm gonna be like, now I want to get them, but you told me stop, so I'm gonna stay right here and I'm gonna stop. So it could be different if she go in a restaurant, if he goes in a restaurant versus someone in a different age group. Like you said, they're not going to tip. They're not going to, and that's just a bad assumption when, you tip if you have money, the percentage tip. It has nothing to do with your color, unfortunately.
But also, if you go with the wrong attitude
Mm-hmm.
and you treat people the wrong way,
You really not going to. I'm already mad at y'all now. You are correct, Nancy. You are correct.
So what about you, Paul or Lonnie?
I've never had a bad experience that I perceived that I was being treated differently in a restaurant. None that I can think of. If anything, maybe I give the waiters a hard time, such as making sure, that they use utensils when they are dipping ice out of the machines and stuff like that, because I kind of stay on my game. I look for stuff like that. But honestly, here in Harford County, I truly can't say. The only thing I wish Harford County had, I wish they did have some of those nicer restaurants that they have out in Baltimore County and other counties. It's kind of difficult, to find a real nice sit-down restaurant where you can put on a suit and tie and, really sit down and enjoy yourself like downtown Baltimore. around on the waterfront down there. You know what I mean? Fells Point area down that way.
Right.
No, I haven't had that type of experience as the other young lady was talking about.
So what about you, Paul?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted. Oh, there you go.
I don't know if I can unmute him.
I haven't really had bad experiences when it comes to restaurants. Like the furthest I got, like from bad experience that I remember, I wasn't even in Maryland. I was in New York. I was driving a truck. I told her, I gave her the order, my name, and like she was like, "Oh, for Paul," and like everybody started laughing. But I don't know if that was because they were racist or like they just thought it was funny. My name was Paul.
So there's been some questions about Black Lives Matter. And so you want to talk a little bit about, you know, you had mentioned it a tiny bit. So people are asking, you know, what they're feeling about that and what's going on with that phrase, but then also that movement currently.
That's a tough question. I mean, we shouldn't even honestly have to say Black Lives Matter. So that's the deeper, to me, that's the root of the question. Why should I even have to say Black Life Matters when your life matter, mine's matter, but why do I have to tell you that my life matters? And then why does it offend someone to say Black Lives Matters? It's like if you have a wife, right, and you go home and she's like, "You love me?" "Oh, I love all God's creatures." You didn't answer her question. She said, "You love
I like that analogy.
you know, like, she said, "You love me." You know, I just think that I honestly in life think that we shouldn't have to say it. And I'm just saddened that I have to tell you that I'm mad. That's,
I like that analogy a lot.
Well, I'm saying it because too many Black people are being killed for no reason at all, and that's what we want to. That's why they're saying that. And I was reading this where I get it from Facebook or something, where it was 69 Black American boys in 1955. They were locked in the dormitory and set on fire. Only 29 lived, and this was in Arkansas. It's just like, and no one knows why they put them in there. They just did it. And I'm thinking that's why they say Black Lives Matter, because they get tired of all of this. And we have to speak up.
So when someone doesn't treat you respectfully, whether they're calling you something or not treating you respectfully, then it seems like your life doesn't matter as much. Is that a correct way of putting that?
I mean, when you're not being held at the same standards as everybody else, looked down on, have these phrases for a group of people, it's just, I mean, that literally what she says, we shouldn't have to say this, but we have to say it. And we're still saying it. Every year, we're still saying it.
I would love for someone to actually like say why it bothers them. Like, you know, like that would be a good, like, rather than asking us why we have to, I would just love to hear somebody's point of view. Like, honestly, why does that bother you? Does it make you feel like, I'm not saying that your life matter, or could you really understand and sympathize with the fact of the killings and the things that's going on? That, honey, I'm not saying you don't matter. You matter too. I want you to realize I matter. You may realize it, but someone doesn't, so I have to say it. So why does it bother you that I have to say it?
Right.
Yeah.
Do they not understand?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I believe, because a couple of people I have on our sign, that Black lives are made in the image of God. And I've had a couple of folks say to me, well, you should say all lives are made in the image of God. And I put that on the sign, all lives are made in the image of God. But Black lives are made in the image of God. That doesn't say that nobody else isn't.
It's just saying I'm reminding y'all because you might have forgot. I think y'all forgot.
Right.
That is definitely something like I would also like to hear, because, you know, I've told you before, like I have Black Lives Matter painted on the back of my car. I don't plan on taking that off anytime soon. But like on Facebook and people I talk to, it does anger me when we're being told all lives matter. Like, we're not stupid. That's not. it's like the analogy, you see one house on fire, the firefighters get here, they're gonna put all the houses out?
Right.
It's one thing that they need to, that people need to focus on. This is an issue. This is a big issue. And we're looking at men and women being killed, and there's video. There's so much more going on besides that. It's more. There's just so much more to it. No one has ever, when I say Black Lives Matter, would you think that I meant your life didn't matter? I would not mean that. But we have to focus on one thing. We're in the middle of a pandemic. We're focusing on COVID. Are we focusing on all the other viruses that are out there? No, we're just focusing on COVID. It's just that, because it's the one that needs attention. This needs attention. No one is saying that everybody else's lives don't matter. Not at all.
Then some of the questions that have come in is the looting and the radical things that have happened, along with the protests, which are two separate things. Can you speak to?
I think, honestly, here's the thing, in slavery, we were living our beautiful life. Someone came in and snatched us, okay? And that fear is traumatizing. I think that people don't think of mental illness and what trauma is. Like, you have Paul up there with, another lady that's not his race, right? He's seeing people killing. He gets stopped with her, it's this and that. He may not admit that to someone, that's trauma when you see a man get killed and you a Black man. That's trauma for me when I see. So we have all this trauma that we have built up inside of us. And you don't go for counseling because I'm Black. I can't go to a counselor like, hey, I'm Black, so I'm getting counseling because I'm Black. So I'm seeing that my Black people don't matter, and I'm seeing this pain. And I'm thinking in my mind, I see what slavery has done and how, we were living, we had our homes, we were making babies. I was someone before the slave owner took and enslaved me. I think that the young people and people are trying to say, I'm not my ancestors. If you think that you're going to do this to me, I'm going to riot, I'm going to fight, I'm going to say all this so you understand that if you come to me, it's not going to be as easy as it was to enslave me. Now, is it right? But was it right for slavery to happen? It has happened. So can we it needs to be like the way the riots are going now. I'm seeing police officers, I'm seeing pastors and stuff going out there saying, I'm sorry, hugging someone. You see someone angry sometimes, hug them and let them know my life. You matter to me. I'm here for you. I love you. Put that down, son. Let's talk about it. And I don't think that people are doing that enough. They're not thinking of the mental issues that go into why they're doing
With this question.
Let me say this.
Let me add a little bit onto that. Yeah, you talk about the rioting. Sometimes you have to do things that you normally wouldn't do to get people attention.
Yes.
And had it not been for those disturbances that last 15, 20 days, nothing probably would have happened to those gentlemen that killed Brother Floyd. Nothing would have happened to those guys that shot the guy down in Georgia. So if the larger community, the community that are the law enforcement, the judges, the prosecutors, with a high percentage, right? So we have to admit that the law enforcement, the prosecutors, the judges, they're probably about 90% white. Probably about 90%. I'm just taking a stab at it. If they were to move much more swiftly, pay much more attention to crime when it's happening, then people don't have a need to rise up. And also, blaming the victims is part of the problem. We are crying out for help. We are crying out for justice. We are crying out to be treated equally. for ourselves, for our children, our grandchildren. We're not trying to take anything away from anyone else. I can imagine what the larger community would be doing if the shoe was on the other foot. They'd be crying, you know, to the skies run red with blood, and maybe rightly so. So yes, destruction of property and stuff, nobody condones that. But at the same time, the larger community have to take responsibility that when crimes are committed, they have a responsibility to move forthwith. That it talked about the policeman bill of rights and all that stuff. That's fine and good, you know. I don't have a real strong objection to it. But you ask yourself, when the average citizen go out there and they think he's committed a crime, they think he's committed a crime, he get handcuffed and all kind of stuff, right? But here's a police officer, right, where you got a video and a month go by and have nothing happen. So what do you expect for the people that are being perpetrated on to do? Just sit back and twirl your thumb? You have to take some kind of action. And unfortunately, in any kind of movement, there are going to be some innocent people and some innocent situation that is unfortunate. And if you could take it back, sure, you would carve those out, but you can't. So that's what I think about it.
Something you want?
But what I was going to say was a lot of the people that were looting, they weren't even the black people that were here. It were white people that came over there, had black face on, and they were stealing everything to make it look worse than it was, because they had some of the Rogers turning in the people, the white people that had white faces, because I've seen one of them, but that was going on too. And another thing is the black people probably burned some places down because they weren't welcome in those places anyway, and they didn't have any part. They didn't have any part in those stores, so they burned them down. It wasn't right, but
yeah. Should I go? Okay. Yeah, I really wanted to focus on this question from John. What's his last name? Ruzeka.
Sorry.
And the question was, by now the country understands the pain.
I'm sorry, it's really soft because of the standard
Just this one.
African American.
Of African American have to endure. The message is clear. Do you feel the message gets lost when part of the protests become violent? I first wanted to say that the message is not clear because we're still dealing with this. Maybe to you, and I appreciate you if, you know, for some reason you feel like it's clear. I do need to say that you will never understand the pain. That's just that, you know, I will never understand the pain. There is pain that African American people feel that they could tell you, but you won't be able to grasp it. Just like you were saying, you know, with being traumatized, that is a thing. My fiance, I had no clue. We've talked about it, obviously, but he sent me a message, and it was just the most heart-wrenching message about how he feels about being a black man in Harford County. And so I don't think you're gonna understand the pain ever, and that's fine. And I don't, with the looting, I'm on the same, it so happened, I don't condone going after people's property, especially, you know, business owners themselves, corporate businesses. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna piggyback what Lonnie said. It doesn't necessarily get lost. It gets us attention. It gets the attention. We are at a whole different war, and that's with media. doing things like that gets media's attention, gets people to see it, gets other people involved. But when there's no violence, when it's peaceful, they're not there. And if they are there, they want to make up a story that didn't happen. I was at a protest and I saw a story about it, and I watched the whole incident about the story was about, and it wasn't violent at all. It was a peaceful conversation between a black man and a white man, and that was it. But they blew it up. They blew it up. So we are at war with just the media itself, social media, you know, the news. They are poisoning. They are making you see what they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a big issue. I have been asked before, and I'm just throwing this, why aren't we protesting black on black crime? You know, people do that. It just doesn't get media attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's out there. People try. Mothers try. Mothers don't want their sons getting shot and having. They're there. It's just, it's not what the news wants. It's not good enough. It's not important enough. So, you know, I'm just saying to Mr. John, we have a long way to go. It's not, you know, it's not clear.
So a number of the questions
Ooh, yes.
have to do with things like monuments being turned over and things like that. Are they losing sight?
They're losing total sight. Why does that? Why? So you're worrying about your history being pulled down. When my history, I'm a slave. So now you offended. You offended. Just think about how that sounds, right? You mad that someone took and threw that down, and I'm seeing my black sisters and brothers being killed. We have Breonna Taylor out here that was an EMT worker. Just think about how powerful that is. And she's not even on the news as much as Floyd. She's an EMT worker. She worked in a hospital. She was an essential worker the day before someone broke up in her house. Because that's breaking in. No matter if we had, a dismissed knock order to go in or not, you still came in my house while I was asleep. You didn't announce yourself. And I'm not the person you're looking for. So you're worrying about a monument going down. But you can't stand next to me, brother to sister, no matter my color, and stand with me to be like, you know what? That young black woman was asleep. She was just working the other day as an EMT worker about to save someone's life in COVID. That was wrong. You're not standing with me saying that's wrong, but you're standing because somebody did like this and that's hurting your feelings. That's something that's not even alive. That's not even a live thing. So you can watch a live person get killed. And that doesn't move your heart. You're worried about someone taking a knee to a flag. That's not moving your heart, seeing someone sitting there saying, I can't breathe, and you seeing a black man die, no matter his criminal background, no matter what he is. That's a human being. But you're worrying about someone with your flag because that represents something to you. So if you're worrying about that represents something to you, the United States represents something to me. God bless America, but God bless these children of America. And that's my child that's being killed, and that should be your child. So when you take a knee, if you don't want to take a knee next to me, you can at least hold on to my, you know what, I'm staying here because my son fought in this war, and I'm standing by. You know, I want my son to know I represent this flag, but I'm going to hold on to your arm while you take it as me because I love you too, brother, and I understand. We don't have compassion for each other to understand each other.
It's kind of amazing how if a person turns over a secret document to a foreign nation, they can go to jail for the rest of their lives and put away and never heard from again. But what we got here, what we are primarily talking about, I guess in 98% of the cases, we are really talking about traitors. 98% of those monuments that we as African Americans and all other progressive thinking people want to come down, these are people that was traitors to this nation. They killed American citizens. They kill white citizens. They kill black citizens. So what's the big hang up over taking down a traitor? Nobody can say that Lee wasn't a traitor to this nation. He's a West Point graduate and he fought against this nation. And how many thousands of untold men and women that he didn't order to have killed, or he planned to have killed. Same thing for Jefferson Davis. Never in our history, except on this occasion, where we had allegedly 2 presidents at the same time. 2 at the same time. So how can that be? The loser loses. You don't lose and still keep your monuments and all that stuff. If that's the case, why didn't we keep the Confederate money? You follow me? But we disbanded all that. And also, when you go around this nation, you don't see no monuments to any German leaders that we fought against in World War II. You just don't see it. It ain't going to happen. It never have happened, and it never will happen, and rightfully so. It should never happen. You don't see any leaders, monuments to any Japanese leaders that we fought against in World War II. And you don't see any monument to Mussolini, the Italian leader. You don't see that. So why should we tolerate a person that was in our own house, our own nation, that turned against this nation? So to
like
me,
having a monument to Benedict Arnold, right? You don't see any monuments to Benedict Arnold.
well,
You don't see Hitler, so it's just,
Benedict Arnold, without going into all the history stuff, Benedict Arnold history have also kind of painted him with the wrong brush. Also, he wasn't the traitor that they pretend like he may have been. But what do I know, Reverend?
You know a lot.
He knows a lot. Right?
Yep. So what about the flag and taking the knee? Can you talk about that? Because you talk about some and just a little bit more. Jeffrey, who's supposed to be on here, he actually gave a really good explanation to me that I really like.
What I thought it was, what I think I heard, he wasn't dissing the flag. He was letting them know that Black lives matter in the United States under the flag. So he wasn't going against the flag, but they tried to act like he was, but he wasn't. That's what I heard. So they misinterpreted it.
So it brought a great deal of attention.
And that was good.
And that I think that's what gets lost
Yeah.
is what's the attention and what's it for?
See, but most of the white people saw a Black man dissing the flag, which he wasn't. So that's what happened. That wrong kind of message went out, but not from us, but from them, because we know what was going on.
So the taking the knee was about the message that Black lives matter.
That's what
Someone
it
had
is.
been killed, Black men have been killed, and the country is not taking.
yeah, but we're good enough. Yeah, and we're good enough to go into the Army and serve for you. So I'm good enough to go to the Army to serve for you, to enlist my sons and my daughters to you, but you can't protect me. So the knee is, you say that you're going to protect all your God's creatures, but you're not protecting a Black man. We go in, we fight, we enlist, but you're seeing us be shot for sport. You're not protecting us. You're not giving back to us the way we're giving to the states.
I mean, for me, it's just like from this question to that question, it's like, oh, the rioting, you don't want the rioting, but then when it's peaceful, when it is a simple need, there's this whole issue. And it just, to me, it blows my mind that a flag is more important to people than the humans that are living here and working here and just trying to live. People are just trying to live. So, I mean, my father was chief in the Navy. He served well over 25 years, and I will take a knee to that flag, and so would he.
What is his name on the
Lonnie.
Lonnie? I can't even the glasses. When Lonnie was first speaking today, Lonnie talked about how, he learned how to be quiet and be humble. Paul talked about being quiet and being humble. I talked about being quiet and being humble. Sheila has raised all those children for the universe, to populate, to be wonderful, successful individuals to give back to the community. And she still has to be quiet and be humble. If we have to walk through life and humble ourselves for you, to be a part of your elite or to be next to you, you can't humble yourself for me and show sympathy for me to understand that this is hurting me. So I've been humbling for 40 years, 50, 60 years we've been humbling. And all we're asking for you is right now, just to listen to my pain and sympathize with my pain.
Well, you know what? I'm not quite.
Me either, but
let me kind of say one thing. I don't know whether I use the word humble or not, right? I always thought of myself as being smart. You have to be smart in situations. Now, I am not a humble person by no means. I guess by this Zoom and chat, you see that I'm not humble. But to all of my friends, when they talk about taking a knee, and they say, you're dishonoring the flag, you're dishonoring the national anthem, I would ask all of my friends, the larger community, to go back and read about the national anthem. The national anthem wasn't just established 1,000 years ago. It's been since the 1930s or 40s, it became a national anthem. And it took an act of Congress, and it passed Congress by one vote in the Senate, I believe, after it had been voted down several times. Also, I would implore all my friends to go back and read the national anthem, what it actually says. We only hear one stanza when we go to a baseball game, a football game, or any other event. They play one stanza of the national anthem. It's 4 stanzas of the national anthem. And you will be amazed at some of the verbiage that they use in the national anthem. That's all I have to say. For those that want to be educated, look it up, read those 4 stanzas, and you will see. Then you come back and you tell the minority community that you don't have a legitimate gripe. That's all I have to say.
Okay, what did you call me? What did you call me?
Humble.
Humble?
It ain't so much humble. It was the point of like when you and Hickey was speaking, they think of it as humble. I know it's not humble.
Okay.
Like it's trying to get back, but for them to understand,
Okay,
I used the word humble because he said that he not talking and fighting and stuff, or like, he want to make it home. To a certain degree, that's still a definition of humbling yourself in that moment, because you're not speaking out to make it home. You still, at that time, when you've been pulled over by the police, I'm still at a humble state because I'm not, if I'm thinking to make it home, I'm still humbling myself to be quiet because I want to make it home because I know that my life is going to change and die. So I'm still humbling myself.
Okay. Because I was thinking, like, if I go to a store or something, I'm not quiet and humble. Because if I see that they're trying to be racist or anything, I still say what I want to say. And eventually, when I go back to that store, they act like they're my best friend. No, seriously, because I don't fuss, I don't cuss.
Mm-hmm.
But I have, if you don't get it right, I'll say, well, how come they got that? What's wrong? And I said, well, where's your manager? Can I talk to him? I do stuff like that. But I go back to the store for instance, oh, hi, Miss Hilton, how you doing? But I get that now, because I'm not gonna be quiet and humble, and don't mess with my children.
Right.
Seriously, don't mess with my children. I'll go to jail for my children. But it's just like, it's almost like, I don't know what it is, and I'm gonna bring God in again. I'm sorry.
Why guards?
No, because it's just weird. I don't know what it is, but I could go in the store right after church, and it's happened before. And I get to the cashier, and she said, "They'll start talking. You just got paid to come from church." I said, "Yeah," and they tell me the whole story. They be telling me things, and they've been talking so long, and this happens a lot. They be talking so long to me. I look around, there's a line, and I say, "Oh, I'm sorry." They say, "No, go ahead, go ahead." And I was in my car. I don't know what it is, Pastor. I'm not bragging. I just don't know what it is. I was in my car getting some gas, and the man said something, and he said, I don't know what it was. He said, God bless you, or something. But I don't understand. I think it might be my manner, because I could tell some of those white people are really, really prejudiced. But they may say something to me, and it's just like it just rolls over my head, and I just keep on talking. And then they feel embarrassed because what they did, and then they try to help me more. So it's not that, I don't know what it is, but I don't get upset that easily if you're talking to me, because I keep on talking like you didn't say it. I ignore you. And a lot of times you ignore it, they start feeling bad. And I can't tell you who this is, but since the Black Lives Matter thing started, some neighbors have started talking to me more. But one neighbor used to talk to me, but when he see me, he put his head down. It's just like he couldn't look at me. He was kind of like ashamed. Yeah. He was ashamed. And I'm doing all this veggies on my porch and stuff. So I said to him, I called him and I said, I got this and this and that, telling him what I had. And he put his head up. Ever since then, he's been talking again. Because they think that we don't like them, that we, and that's not what it is. We don't have anything against them because this is going on. They just don't know how to talk to us about it. And my other neighbor, every time he see me now, he did talk to me, but he's talking to me more now. But it's just like you don't have to do that. Just be yourself, just be yourself.
So I had a question, if you remember, when I sent the invitation out to you, because the most segregated time is Sunday morning in this country. And to me, that's like totally against Christianity. How does that change? That's a personal question.
Well, I could say something. We've had Black people come here, all right? And a lot of
we do have another family with Zelda.
I don't know another family.
Well, Zelda and Jeff Bonner.
Oh,
and their children.
I'll tell you where they sit later.
Yeah, I know, but I don't consider them Black, but I consider them not white.
Well, Zelda is from South Africa.
Yeah.
And she said she's the worst of both worlds in South Africa because there's Black and there's white, and she's considered colored because she's biracial.
Well, there's other, I didn't mean that when I said it that way. I meant we were darker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, but I know she was, but you may forget what I was gonna say. Oh, when have you noticed sometimes we get Black people to come and everything? Well, I go over to them just because I can feel that they're uneasy, because a lot of us Black people don't want to come to white church. Right? Am I right? Well, some of them.
I'll tell you.
Oh, wait a minute.
Go.
A lot of Black people I know don't want to come to white church because they said that they feel uneasy. They can't relax around white people. And so this one couple came, I don't know them, but they seemed kind of uneasy, and y'all were friendly to them because I saw that. So I went over there and I said, look, this little girl was going to Sunday school, my children up there, right? And she was all right, but a lot of times because they don't see too many Blacks, and I went over there, they think that I'm whitey Black. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
They think I'm whitey Black, and I felt that, and I felt sorry for them to feel that way, that they feel so insecure when they come to the white church. When y'all have stuff outside, and a lot of Blacks are there, one girl asked me, she said, you go to this church? I said, yeah. I said, this is a nice church. She said, yeah, they seem real nice. I said, why don't you come here? She said, I wish I had known about this church, but I just joined another church, But when they had the Black kids here, I tried to tell them, go upstairs, my children Black to go upstairs.
There's another one here.
No, but I tried to tell them that, but it's just that they just kind of afraid to come. They come to all of the little things that we have here, but they act like they don't want to walk in the door. And I try to talk to one of my friends that live near here and try to get her to come. And it's just, I don't understand. I was raised in a Black neighborhood too. But see, I think my problem is, and I guess it's not a problem. I have so many mixed races in my family that I am very comfortable. Indian, Black, white, French, Spanish. You see what I'm saying? We are so mixed up in my family that I don't feel like they feel because they don't have that in their family. But I just don't say it, you know, because I just don't say it.
What were you going to say?
It's twofold for me. I think that a church represents the community and people come to something they're drawn to. My daughter has special needs, so I go to Grace Fellowship Church. I don't care if they're white, I don't care what's going on in there, but they meet my needs of having a special needs ministry. I feel that if you want your church to look like the community, you have to step out into the community, go to certain things that's within the community, some like, you know, some activities, some shelters, different type of, you know, some open night mics, different type of things to get the community to come in. You know, you're going to be a reflection of the community that you serve and you provide to. That's just my opinion. And it's a little uneasy when you come somewhere. Like I came for the
Classic rock.
yeah, people stare when you don't eat. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't bother me because maybe you're staring because I'm beautiful. I don't know. You know, I think of it like that. I'm beautiful. It's something that just stir, but they do stir. Like, you know, like, oh, we got a Black person here. Wow. Okay. Who does she know here? What made her come here? It's like, you know, it's like, you know, it's an uncomfortable feeling, you know, to some people.
Right.
To me,
You know, we have a Hispanic ministry here. There's a whole lot of Hispanic folks that live across the street. And I would walk that neighborhood, but I didn't speak Spanish. And I couldn't connect, even trying to talk to folks. But I would pray about it. And we ended up with a gentleman that was Hispanic stop by and say, I want to start a ministry here. And so that's how it happened. So I'm not, you know, I'm just trying to wrestle with this. How do I?
It's a good thing, like you did that. You served the community that's around. At that time, you saw that it was a need in the Spanish community. You walked out. If there's something maybe like, you know, like if they have a Heritage Day at, in Howard County, like we have African Pride and different things, Jamaican festivals or something, you can go the same way you did there. Let them know about the ministry. Let them know about different things. They will come, just like they came. It's just opening up the community and serving and having things that people are interested in.
You have something to say? You look like it.
I feel like I really shouldn't because I don't go to church and I've never gone to church, and I was just raised, my mother raised me, you know, there's a God, he's a loving God. You know, you talk to him. That's who has your back no matter what. So I've always just been raised on that. So I've gone into different churches, you know, friends throughout the years, spend the night over on Saturday, go to church with the family Sunday. I think, you know, I think it's a generational thing, and I think it's a cultural thing. I mean, I feel like, you know, if you're comfortable at your church and it's an all Black church, it's just, I feel like the word segregated, I just don't.
It's just different music, different things.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I want to say it's cultural. I'm not trying to like offend, but like I've been to church here and I've been to church in the inner city, and it's just, I mean,
because even our Spanish service is very different. I love it, and I've been to several Black churches, and I love it. If I wasn't being a pastor here on Sunday morning, I might be.
It's just
there's a feeling and excitement more so than what we have.
and then that can be offensive too. It's to bring everyone together. You're going to have a hard spot, because if some people like the soft.
Those are 8 o'clock.
Yeah, some people like that. And then if you start like you know, they're gonna be like, oh my God, what's going on? So, you know, you have to try. You're going to be in a spot where, you know, you're just going to have you're going to have the open-minded people. And you'll get them. You know, just like you did this is open up the minds. This is, you know, that put something in my heart that maybe one day I may be like, you know what? I love that the pastor did that. You know, he gave us an opportunity to speak, to bring people together. Maybe I do need to try the church out. You met me in my community of a need that I had. So it's the same respect to you. I'll meet you where you at to see what you have to offer too. It's just, you know,
Yeah.
what way is good people do.
I was always in a Lutheran church, but after I got married, my husband wanted to be in a Baptist church where mostly Black people. Okay, I got on and only joined that because of him. I didn't really like it because I'm Lutheran. Okay, but no, that's how I felt. And I was on the choir and everything, and the way they sang, that I guess all of us like, it wasn't my way to sing. And they would always, and I would always sing on the calm side when they said, because I did a lot of singing by myself, so I had a lot of those parts. But I would always, they would say, Josephine, I said, I told you I'm Lutheran, and I said it all. I had to say it all the time. I told you I'm Lutheran, you know. So after I left the Baptist church, and because for a reason, some reason that was going on, so I just left the Baptist church and the Lutheran church, and I'm glad I'm here because I like the singing, and the children are glad to hear because I always say, let's go visit the other church. No, Mom, we want to stay here. But the other church was good, but it was I don't know why they like this church. I don't know. I never asked them why they didn't like the other church. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
But it's a difference, I guess, how you raised, what church you want to go to. Like I said, they were wondering how come you go to this church, Lutheran church, and not Baptist bus. And my girlfriend tried to get me. What's the church called? Town something. It's a church. It's in Edgewood. And I forgot the name of the church. I went to that church just for Bible study, but I didn't go to the service. And then they went to Shining Star, Shining Star, the church.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go to church and they're wondering how come I'm gonna come back to them. I said, no, I'm gonna stay right here. But I'm different churches, different people. It doesn't matter what race it is. It's what you feel like you want, where you want to come.
Yeah.
So that's.
So I want to give each of you just a chance, because we're going to be wrapping it up, is anything else you'd like to say? So Paul, we haven't heard much from you, so I'll put you on the spot. Paul, what do you have to say? Paul's been showing up at church, and again, I don't know how it feels to be the only Black man that walks into this white church. You happen to know her because you're dating his daughter, but
She's supposed to smile for y'all.
I feel like the vibes are great. You know, like the generation, like you gotta remember what type of town we're in Bel Air, Maryland. Like, so the people my age, they're on to different things. You know, they're not really interested in that type of stuff. And I'm not gonna sit and babysit them. I'm not gonna force nobody to go to church. You know, they got obligations to the world. But my honest opinion of the church is a great place. You know, I come there, I sing. I got no problem even say that. I'll be in there singing. Like, you know, it's a great vibe for me.
But do you have anything to say to the audience, just in general?
Just be kind, be respectful. You know, respect your bubble. Don't talk out of line. If you see something happening and it's really not your place, I'm going to tell you, depending on the situation, and you're going to know what the situation is. It's either you can either put your 2 cents in, do you believe it's going to help, or do you think it's just going to be 2 cents and not the dollar? If you think it's going to be the dollar, yes, go ahead and help out for that day. But if you think it's just a 2 cents, don't waste your 2 cents. Go on about your business, even if you think it's the greater good, because sometimes that's how you get yourself caught up. And I just want everybody to be safe in these type of times. The reason I didn't really speak much is because what everybody else was hitting on was basically what I was going to hit on. So I wouldn't want to sit and further elaborate on people's conversation if we have the same views and minds. Like when they talk about the statues getting took down, that statues getting taken down because people don't want to wake up and feel like, you know what I mean? Like, when is it enough? You guys still got this here? Why is it still here? Who wants to look at that? You know, they get constantly reminded. So I just pray for peace and that everybody, you know, continues to love each other, because without each other, we don't have anybody in the world. And that's a true statement.
Thank you very much. That's great, Paul.
Yeah.
Who else wants to say something this week?
Definitely.
You can go first.
It's different in my house. Okay.
You have to speak up to the mic.
Okay, kind of different. Okay, see, my children are not prejudiced, okay? Like I said, our family is so mixed. Even the little boy that I have now, his father has another baby and with the white girl. You see, it's kind of different in my house, but I did tell, I talked to Micah. I don't talk to Denise as much because Black women don't usually get in as much trouble. Well, you know what I'm saying. I mean, they do, but you understand what I'm saying.
My mom might be on the phone. You can ask her different.
No, because I'm going by me. I don't know what it is, okay? But I told Micah, even with the incident at Costco, Micah didn't say a word. Micah just stood there. I forgot he was there. When I came back, he didn't look upset or anything because he knows me. Everything was all right. But Micah knows, I told him when push comes to shove and you with a bunch of white boys, they're going to come after you. They may look at you. So you just keep quiet. And I told him how to, when he start driving, I told him how to hold his hands. And I told him, I didn't tell him he had to say yes, sir, no, sir. Just be polite because I'm not going to tell him to say yes, sir, or no, ma'am. Okay? You hear me? Okay. But he can talk. No, I'm just saying. But he can be polite. I don't want the other stuff. And I'm gonna say something about my husband that really makes me mad. Because it really makes me mad. So I don't know. He's at work. If he could have been here, it would have been good. Because what he does, he has a bad habit of when he's talking to a white guy, he says, "Yes, boss." And I look at him and I said, "What is that about?" I'm getting him out of that. And it really makes me mad when he does that. He doesn't do that around the children, but I've noticed, I don't know if he's still doing it because I haven't heard it in a while because I get mad about that. But I just told them.
So, excuse me, I'm sorry to intrude on your conversation, but I was wondering when he says that, does he feel a type of vibe towards the person? Because sometimes, you know, just like how another person does slick stuff, is there a certain vibe? Is it everybody?
I'm thinking that he does not have that confidence in himself that I was brought up in. And it makes me mad when he does that. And I may say something about it and he gets on it offensive, you know, and I'm waiting for him to say that again because he better not say it again around me. No, because I don't like it. Right. No, you know, I don't like it at all. Yeah. And that's why I said, if I told Micah, you don't have to say yes, sir, yes, no, ma'am. If they police pull you over, just be polite. You don't have to give them that much power over you. Because I feel once a Black person says yes, sir, yes, ma'am, it's giving the white policeman power. So you don't do that. You see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? But that's basically all I did. That's why I told you. That's why I always make
that one.
That's why
he's unmuted.
He's aware.
I don't think by saying yes, sir, or yes, ma'am to anyone make you less than them and make you.
I feel that's the way I feel. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that.
I'm saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I don't have to say that. But you don't. But he doesn't. But you don't know what police officer that you got that's going to expect you to say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. That's my way of fighting back. All right. You can still be nice. You can, you can still have the tone.
I don't disagree with your feeling, right? But I think that it was a principal of mine. He used to have a saying that manners would take you further in life than money. And sometimes by saying yes, sir, yes, ma'am, to anyone, sometimes it can diffuse the situation. Like when I addressed both of you all at one time, yes, ma'am, and I'm older than both of you.
Oh, I do that too. I'll do that too.
So
I'm just
also,
police officer.
also, sometimes by calling a person boss can be what the word I'm looking for, condescending. Because if you notice, people that are anti-organized labor, anti-union, they call union leaders bosses.
Well, no, I understand exactly what you're saying.
So it's meant as a put down too now.
I know, I understand exactly what you're saying. It's not a put down, okay?
Okay.
So you're on the other end, I'm on this end.
Yeah, give him a break.
You with the person that you know what they're doing. And when he says that, it's, oh.
If I was you,
yeah,
I would make sure that he called me boss at the same time.
No, he doesn't bother me.
You don't call you boss at the same time?
No, he does what I tell him to do.
So that's what she call a boss.
So we're gonna let Lakira.
I think just what my closing would be is I just want everybody to be able to come together and just take a walk in each other's shoes. And I think once we take a walk in each other's shoes, we will start to view the world differently. I don't have to agree with you, but I can respect your opinions. You know, in your mind, if you honestly feel that as a Caucasian person that the Black lives bothers you, when someone says Black Lives Matters, just look on the news and understand that why we're saying it. And, you know, I really want people to think back to like slavery when you start to think of fear. We weren't really, in our heart and ancestors, we weren't violent people. Because if we was a violent people, you wouldn't have been able to come over here and take us out of our home and put us on a ship. Just honestly think about that. They didn't come in mass numbers of 1,000 men to take us. It was a couple, you know, maybe a couple hundred men, probably less than that, that took all these slaves. So even if you had a gun, if it's still more of me than you, I could have overpowered you if I was that violent, evil monster that you see. So when you start to look at a Black man, you start to be fearful. You can't be that fearful because we came over here. We got enslaved and came over here. If we were really that savage people at hearts, that wouldn't have happened. That would have been a massacre. So I just think that sometimes you need to not go on the stereotype that every Black man is trying to get you to hold your pocketbook, to clutch your bag, you know, to think of a young man with his pants sagging. You know, for the love of God, I want them to pull up their pants too, but they're not going to kill me. It's not a gun in their pants. You know, it's just to start realizing that we matter. And I understand also that we have a lot of people that are in law enforcement. So that bothers them when they hear police say pig, like you think all Black people are saying we hate police officers, and then they're like, oh, when I go out now, I'm fearful. Well, that's the fear that we walk in our life every day. And no one should have to feel that fear. So we need to come together and think of a way that we can reform the police department. Stop being so like, just thinking of like, if someone goes into a public health field, you need to take some mental health testing. You really should sit down with a psychologist, not that little, because I've been in the academy, not that little, oh, if a person does this, are you going to do A, B, C? No, you need to sit there and analyze the way I'm saying I'm going to do A, B, C. Why am I doing A, B, C? In the communities where we have a lot of poverty, like, you know, a lot of disparities and stuff going on, we need to go back and do officer friendly. We need to go back and get our cadets from there. All this money that we have you ever thought why they didn't create like an academy where it's basis for people to sleep? Just think about that. If you would have academy rather than like how we do ROTC, you go away on a weekend, if it was something there in the inner city for kids that had no food, nowhere to go, didn't have parents and stuff like that. If we could start at the beginning of them not being fearful of police, giving them a way to learn a trait in different things, your Your parents are no good for you. Let's put you here. Let's learn some trade. Let's give you a stipend. Let's do things like that. We're not thinking of things that build up the communities, to take away the health disparities, to take away the social justice. We sitting up here fussing over this person life matter, that person life matter. We all matter. Let's get together. Since you have the power where your judge is sitting there and you know that judge and you're rubbing arms with that judge, why don't you rub an arm with him and bring me along next time? So he can see a Black woman, so he doesn't think that all Black women are on welfare, all Black women are not working. Take me along so we can have a talk and he can hear me speak. Take someone with you to start bringing them in the arena, in that room, at that table. So we're sitting at the table with you and we can make a change. That's all.
Me?
Yep.
Okay, I'll sit up there because I'm gonna do it. I feel like I can't. Okay, so I don't know, but we're just closing out, right? Just saying, okay. So, okay, so just, I read a couple of questions people were having, and I really do feel like people, I really hope people understand that there are so many other things that go with this. I mean, the way things are right now is a result of things that happened back then. So we really need to be, I personally think it's communication, man. It's talking with people, it's sitting down, it's like listening, just truly like listening to what people have to say. Something's got to change, and I understand like people are saying like all lives matter or white lives matter or blue lives matter, but like y'all, really though, like open your eyes, look at the news, talk to people, and really try to feel empathetic. I don't know, I feel like there's a lack of empathy in the world, and sympathy. If you want me to tell you how it is, everyone's on the same level. I mean, I hate to tell you, like, we're all the same. So why aren't we all being treated the same? We're all the same. I mean, I don't know. I've been there's a part of this that I really want to touch on real quick is police brutality is a problem. It is a problem that we have to deal with fast. These hours where it's like 480 hours for you to become a cop or something like that it's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. We are having men, I mean, as a country, we witnessed a man being murdered on live television. And people don't expect people to get up and get mad and riot and all that. I mean, we watched the man die. We have problems. We have issues that need to be addressed. But I really do feel like people need to ask questions, man. Talk to your friends, talk to people. Like if you know, just like this, like people have questions. I know somebody had a question about what do, Black parents teach their children that white parents don't. Well, I'll tell you, for me, I got a pamphlet to tell me how to talk to my child, my Black child. I don't have a child now, but I am planning on it. To teach him how to speak to an officer. It's a pamphlet. It's that much of an issue that we have to put out pamphlets. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, when I was raised, my mom told me, this is what she told me, respect cops, don't get in trouble. But that's not, there's so much more that I've heard that people have to be taught where to put your hands. Don't move your hands too quickly. Don't do this, don't do that. I mean, it's just, it starts in the home. It starts in the home. I feel like nothing can change until people really start sitting down with their children and their family members and really, really talking about this. I was blessed with a mother who was very loving, and she taught me to love. And, you know, I hope I don't offend anybody when I say this, but I mean, that's everybody, gays, lesbians, transgender, everybody deserves respect. What is it? Do unto others as you would have do unto you. I mean, that's right there. There you go. There you go. There you go. Treat people how you want to be treated, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, who their loved one is, what their color of their skin is. Well, you know, actually, rewind. It does matter their color of the skin, because that's part of them, which is another thing I really quick wanted to say, because I think I said it to you. Maybe not. Telling somebody, and I've heard this before, telling somebody, well, I'm colorblind. I don't see color. I don't see black, brown, yellow. Stop saying that. If you're a person that says that, stop saying that, because telling somebody, a black man or a black woman, that you don't see their color is telling them that you don't see them. So please stop that, because that's just not the way to be going. All right? I really hate that saying. So if you are a person watching and you say that, it's offensive. It is very offensive. I don't know. I just want everybody to love each other. I feel like if we keep talking and understand people and just try, I think we can really get far. You know, our children deserve the best. The best. Our children they're going to be awesome, and they deserve to know to love each other. So that's all I have to say.
So, Mr. Lonnie, you want to close this out?
Well, I'll make it short and brief. You know, like 3 words: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We all want the same thing. We all want to raise our children in a safe environment. We all want for them to be highly educated. We all want for them to get that glorious job or that glorious career, no matter what race you are or what nationality you may be. And no one should have the right to take that away without being held accountable. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a policeman. It doesn't matter whether you smoke Joe on the street corner. It doesn't matter. I believe that everybody should be treated the same way. You know, that is it in a nutshell. Just be your brother's keeper. And also, I have often thought about this, right? Doctors can get fired. Truck drivers can lose their license. Welders can lose their certification. Social workers have to be licensed to practice. Preachers, y'all lose y'all certification and stuff. They move you out. The congregation can, or whoever. So everybody's not cut out to be a policeman. And if you are so afraid of everybody just because of their skin color, there's no shame in saying, I can't handle it. Now, for me personally, I could never be a policeman because I couldn't handle it. No way. So just because you put on a badge and just because you go to training for 6 months in some location is more, and some location may be less. It's okay to say, I can't handle it, because every time I see a person of color, I get scared to death. And there's nothing wrong with quitting or trying another profession, just like any other profession. You know, I couldn't be a policeman. I definitely could not be a coal miner, you know, because I can't even go underneath a bed, let alone go down on a coal mine. So those are some of the professions that I know I could not do. And there's no shame in it. But, you know, if you happen to be one and you're fortunate enough and the American society got enough confidence in you, then do what's right, do what's honorable, and do your profession credit. And I want to thank you, Reverend, for hosting this. Been very enjoyable and very enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank each of our participants. Thank you for your willingness to talk. Yes. And I thank you for all those that are out there listening. And I hope that you have gotten an understanding. There's some great videos. We've put some out there that talk about these things that have gone on. There's actually a very good one we're going to be putting out by a gentleman from Veggie Tales, actually, and Creative Veggie Tales, but he gives a history of what's happened in this country that is really enlightening. And I think it's very important for people to listen to that and see that. And I really hope that this is a beginning of communication. It is so much about communication, and so many of you talked about if we can just treat each other equally and love each other.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful and a very blessed evening.
Bye. Thanks, Dad.
People on, it was at 30 something.
There's 30 something people.
Thank you.